Folks, it's Fernando doing a video for the More Survivalists, and today I'd like to address the topic of computers and preparedness and take you through the process that I went through myself, actually over several years thinking about it, and only recently ending up with a setup that I'm honestly happy with and I'd like to share with you. We all agree that having a smartphone is a great idea for common everyday tasks, but also in terms of preparedness, absolutely. The ability of going online, using the tools that you have in your phone, it wouldn't make sense not to take advantage of that. It does have certain limitations. Now, with a good phone, a good smartphone, especially if you have a bigger screen like the one that I have here, you can do quite a bit of even work. But it has certain limitations. With a bigger screen, you have more of a keyboard, you have more of a screen, and you can do a little bit more. One of the ways you could go about that is putting a tough case like the one that I have here. This is a Griffin Survivor case. It has done very well for this iPad, but in all honesty, this is basically what my wife uses to go online and watch videos, that sort of thing. It's pretty much beaten, but even though it is better at that than a cell phone, it's basically because of the screen size. It's not that it has a keyboard, which is what you're sort of missing here. I mean, it has its place, but I don't see it as a replacement for an actual notebook, an actual computer with a keyboard. So the next logical step that you would seem to go for, and this is the one that I went for myself some time ago, is having a netbook. Basically, you're saying, okay, I like having a big screen, but I also want to have an actual keyboard. That makes, especially getting work done is going to be easier, especially for those of us that write a lot. You just miss having, the actual keyboard. So you go with something like this, and I bought this is an Asus E computer that I bought, man, I don't know how many years ago, maybe 5 years ago, no, even maybe 5-6 years ago. Don't quote me on that, but yes, it has a few years, the Asus E. When they first came out, it was quite a nice computer. I think it's an Intel Atom N280 with 2 gigs of RAM. It is okay. Now, the keyboard, I think it's a 92% keyboard. It's a little bit smaller. Battery life in this thing is actually great. You have a fantastic battery. I think it was like 10 hours, 11 hours, and actually working for it, maybe 9 hours you got out of it. It's still quite good. I mean, I was thinking about replacing this battery and sticking with this, which, it would have been okay. It's not bad, but the keyboard is a little bit smaller. The computer is a little bit dated and not as powerful as, of course, some of the other things that you have around. I actually gave it a try. I installed a Linux version. I think it was Ubuntu. I installed Ubuntu here, and yes, I mean it's an okay computer, but not the full size keyboard. One of the other things, or the other ways that you could go about this, is going with something like this, which is what you would think of more like a survivalist version of a computer, a tank of a Panasonic Toughbook. And this thing is a beast. I mean, this, you can literally hammer nails all day long with this laptop. Dropped it actually quite recently in the airport. Went flying, skidding on the floor for several meters. Nothing happens. It's as tough as it gets. These Toughbooks are mil-spec, tough as nails computers. I like this. I think it's magnesium case. Man, it is very good. And I've seen some videos online of people suggesting that this is the way to go for a survivalist, a prepper that wants something that is bomb-proof. A Toughbook, yes, it is. It is quite good. It is specifically intended for outdoors use, for tough use, dust-proof, waterproof, you name it. It is a very solid computer. It is a little bit dated though. This is a Pentium 1.6 gigahertz of processor. It's max topped up with 2 gigabytes of RAM. The solid disk, I think the hard disk is, I don't know, 100 and something, maybe 128 is solid disk. It's not bad. It has an older Windows. I think it's the Windows XP. This is the older CF-29 Panasonic Toughbook. You know, for browsing websites, this and that, I guess it does okay. And you can, with a good software setup, you can do quite a bit of work with this computer yet. But it's, you know, it's not the latest processor. I'm not saying that you should be looking for that, but you can have better computers than this for sure in terms of hardware power. If you want something tough, the Toughbook is definitely the way to go, and it has certain little things. You know, it has a good power in terms of using Wi-Fi. You have your antenna there, so and it's quite easy to repair these in terms of replacing stuff on the inside. If you want to get a bigger hard drive or that sort of thing. The screen is also intended for outdoors use, which means it's very bright as well. The battery, I haven't gone online looking for one in terms of how expensive they are. I think it's okay. Now the thing is that, you know, I wanted something maybe a little bit of a better computer, not so intended only on toughness. If you want toughness, yes, this is definitely the thing that you should be looking for. But what I ended up going for actually just a few months ago myself was with this guy over here. Lenovo ThinkPad, and I'm loving this thing. I mean, it's fantastic. It's exactly what I was looking for. You know, these things are all over the place. The ThinkPads, you just cannot throw a dead cat without hitting one. But for some reason, they always go by, at least in my case, for me, they went by pretty much unnoticed. I one day saw that, you know, realized that these were being used everywhere. And by that I mean pretty much any retail store that you walk into, you know, those that sell used video games, or clothing stores, pretty much any kind of retail store, most of them end up using ThinkPads. Here recently I went into you know, these mobile cell phone providers. They had ThinkPads as well. Pretty much everyone is using these because it's a pretty standard business computer. Now these are very well built. Now the die-hard, hardcore ThinkPad fans will say that the old ThinkPad died with IBM. I've been reading a lot of this online, and some guys are very fanatic about their computers. I'm happy enough with this as it is. It still has those silver aluminum hinges. It's pretty solid all around. This is the model T420S, and S is a little bit of a special model of the T420. S means it's going to be a little bit lighter. The chassis, which is magnesium, in this case it's magnesium and carbon fiber, so as to make it lighter and thinner than the standard T420. I got it used, bought it online, used, refurbished by one of these companies, and they honestly did a great job. I mean, it looks brand new. The keyboard, I think, was replaced new. It's a HD screen, so yeah, I just love this thing. It has a security feature where you just use your fingerprint so as to turn it on. Just swipe your finger like so, and you turn it on. So it has all these things that I really do like. In this case, I'm talking about a i7 processor, which goes about 2.6 gigahertz, and it can be turbocharged to 3.1, I believe. 16 gigabytes of RAM, and has a solid state drive, which I love that thing, of 250. You know, when you buy one of these refurbished or used online, you really get a great computer for very reasonable money. You have that rubber red button there. Everything just, I mean, I'm loving it. I really do like it. It's fantastic. The only criticism I would make is that maybe because of being the lighter version, it's a little bit thinner. It has a different battery which does not have the same amount of battery life as a T420. You know, at the end of the day, you get maybe 3-4 hours. I can get, and I actually already bought it, a replacement for this docking port here, where right now it's using it has a DVD, which I really don't have much of a use for. So I'm going to be taking away the DVD port and using an extra battery that goes there, so as to get a little bit more runtime in that regard. Then you have, what is it? You have a USB port 3.0 over there. So overall, a great computer. The solid state drive, if you haven't tried that already, and if you haven't upgraded to it and you have the possibility, it runs very silent. You don't have the disk running in your hard drive anymore. You have this solid state drive disk, which makes a huge difference. It's awfully fast, very fast, and it's also tougher as well. Yes, of course, it's not going to be military grade tough like the Toughbook. Sure, it's not, but it's quite it's tough enough for what I'm looking for. It even has drain holes in case you drop liquid on the on the keyboard. So, you know, it has some things that make it a little bit tougher than your standard computer. It has this rubbery texture finish, which is also very nice. And what really did it for me was that not only did I have a computer that it's quite powerful, pretty portable, not heavy, it has a good screen, has a good keyboard. I think the new ones have, some of the latest ThinkPads have the chiclet keyboards. I prefer these ones. I think this is a better keyboard, and I really do like it. Much better than the newer ones, as that ISIL or chiclet type of keyboard. This is more of the typical one that I enjoy better. But besides that, what I like is that I can actually use this as my main computer. I used to have my old desktop computer, which is that huge box with all the things inside and such. But now I'm using this as my main computer because I'm using it in combination with the docking ports. And by that, you just do this, you just drop it there. Right, let me adjust that so as to show you guys what that's like. So you drop it there, you click it into place, and it connects with that docking port. It connects to my desk keyboard, my a bigger screen. I get most of all faster internet connection, so as to take more advantage of the fiber optic internet connection. Makes no sense to have a fiber optic and being limited because of the Wi-Fi signal, or having to stay just next to a router. This makes all that much better. It also charges your laptop. So basically, I'm using the same computer, and these you can get online for like 15 bucks. These Mini Dock 3, I think these are called. These you can get for like 15-20 bucks online. So you can have several of them, or maybe a couple of them, depending on where you like working. Or of course, you can just disconnect and use the laptop as well. But one of the things that I like is that it's constantly charging the battery as well. So the battery is trickle charged constantly, always topped up to 100%. So if something ever happens, or you just quickly have to leave, all you have to do is click there, remove your computer, and you have everything that you've been working with just 2 seconds ago right here. And if not, you just click it into place, and you don't even touch the computer for anything. You just press that button there, and it turns on everything for you. So you're basically using it as a CPU, using your laptop as a CPU. Always charged, ready to go whenever that's needed. With a fingerprint detector thing, you can use it so as to turn it on even. And when you use the fingerprint, you don't actually have to punch in your password. But when you connect it to the dock, instead of asking you for the fingerprint and having to slide your finger there, you just put the password over there, and that's it. I mean, all in all, I think it's a very neat setup. I'm going to be leaving the link below to this model, the T420 and the T420S, if I find it. Also, another one that I really liked was the 220, which is a little bit smaller. I think it's like a 13-inch screen, but still a very powerful processor, and you can have it with a solid state drive as well. So basically just a smaller version. Maybe if I had found a good X220, probably I would have gone with that, but this one was in great shape, so I went with this one instead. Folks, that's gonna be all for now. Remember to subscribe, share, more stuff coming up. Take care, see you on our next video.